Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about Elite Dangerous, more specifically about Beyond Chapter 1. And for that we invited quite a lot of people, so guys, go ahead and please introduce yourself.
My name is Bognogus. I recently started streaming on Twitch back in August, partnered streamer now that primarily streams Elite Dangerous. You can find me at twitch.tv/Bognogus and Bognogus everywhere else. I am heavily involved with the BGS aspect of the game and many other parts of our player group, and very much interested in learning a lot more about the scientific side of everything.
Hi there, I'm DJTruthsayer. I'm a full-time Elite Dangerous streamer and leader of one of the triple elite player groups in Elite Dangerous, a group called The Sovereignty, or one of the leaders, I should say. I know a fair bit about the story of this game in particular, but I play this game far too much. So I'm going to talk to you about it.
And where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/DJTruthsayer or Twitter/DJTruthsayer.
I'm Malic. I stream on Twitch under Malic_VR. I'm, of course, a VR streamer. I primarily play Elite. I delve into the technical details about the game quite a bit and the science behind the game. I'm also one of the leaders of Sovereignty, and I'm in charge of the Bureau of Sovereign Sciences, or BOSS.
And I am Yamiks, or rather I go by such a name, and I basically beat the dead horse complaining about many things that I dislike, make content on YouTube, and I do stream from time to time as well, but that's just a little bit on the side.
My name's Blind. I'm a full-time affiliate on Twitch, and I stream a lot of simulation and management games. Elite Dangerous in the evenings, I tend to be an exploration player, so I'm about 45,000 light years outside of the bubble right now, just looking at pretty planets.
And I'm Adfo. You probably know me if you watch Schematics, and you can find my stuff obviously on Schematics on YouTube and on Twitter.
All right, so first off, let's just go over everybody's initial impressions over Beyond Part 1. And then we will get into the topics.
So, Beyond is the first of the new free updates to Elite.
Not free, DJ.
It is free.
It's not. It's part of Horizon's expansion.
He does have a valid point there.
No. Horizons has finished. Yes, a lot of this is only available to Horizons owners, but actually, when you look at it, of 3.0, only 3 things are actually Horizon specific. The vast majority of the update is free. So yes, Yamiks, there are some things that are behind a paywall, but the vast majority of the update applies to Elite Dangerous base game, not to the Horizons update specifically. So I disagree basically entirely.
It's free with asterisk, essentially what you're saying at best case.
It's not content that was originally listed to be part of the series, and it is the 3.0 series. You're not being asked money for the 3.0 series. There's a huge amount of content in it. In this first part, they have massively redone crime and punishment. They've massively redone engineering. They've had a huge amount of graphical improvements, including a new lighting engine. They have improved the stability of the game no end. The frame rate, particularly planet side, has gone through the roof. It's a pretty fantastic patch. There are some bumps, but they're being ironed out. It was also, I really want to point out, the most successful beta that Elite Dangerous has ever done. It was a beta that had regular updates within it and updates where they applied fixes the community were asking for during that beta. And very rapidly we saw the turnaround between us going, this is broken, and the devs going, cool, we see that that's broken, we'll fix it. So yeah, 3.0 has basically blown me away. I didn't expect this much for content that, at worst, Yamiks, you're not paying again for.
You're not asked to pay again. Yeah, that shouldn't be celebrated.
I think it should. I like getting stuff for free. So
My
Malic,
bit is more of the kind of science in the game. I'm quite interested now with the new Guardian content that they've been adding. And again, it's one of those things, knowing Frontier, we've only scratched the surface. We've got probably a lot more stuff in the game that we haven't uncovered yet. I mean, we've only had it for, you know, a couple days now. Yeah, I haven't really even been able to dive back into even the Thargoid stuff yet, so I don't even know what new stuff they've added there. I'm still trying to catch up at this point with the new content.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm already foreseeing that it's going to take weeks for us to really get a good handle on everything that's come. I mean, like, huge for me are the engineering. Whenever I've asked the chat in the Twitch channel what they're excited about, usually the #1 answer comes up as engineering. It's absolutely incredible. I'm very happy about the wing missions, and I'm looking forward to doing that a lot more, especially with the choices that you have now with those. There's new USS scenarios that we're going to be able to discover. And one big thing too that got a decent overhaul is the trade data and the galaxy map too. A lot of new filters, a lot more granular settings that you can change as well. But this is going to be weeks of discovery to really get a good handle on the size of the update.
As I said myself multiple times, mostly I'm split 60-40 on the good side for the whole thing. Most of the new things coming in are basically, I'd say, just a couple of improvements rather than new things. It's just a quality of life improvement update, more or less, when you sort of water it down from all the new things completely and slight extensions on already existing parts. I don't know, frankly, it's nice. There are good things and there are horrible things as well, but we'll get into that, I suppose.
And for me personally, like, my initial impressions were, I like anything that increases like immersion in the game. So the new look to the planets is just beautiful. The new lighting system is lovely. I love the quality of life changes with all of the UI and whatnot. Everything looks so much nicer. Galnet audio is fantastic as far as I'm concerned, because I was always too lazy to read the Galnet updates. So it's just nice to be able to fly around in my spaceship in the middle of nowhere and listen to the news, hear what's going on back with all you crazy people in the bubble.
I don't have any impressions because I haven't played the game since the update, and basically the only purpose of me being here is to get the discussion back on track if we derail too much.
Which we will do, just as a warning.
Oh, with me, without a doubt.
This is that group, yep.
Oh, definitely. I'm counting on that. So I guess we should dive into the first big topic, which is crime.
All right, so with the new crime system, they've tried to rebalance things to make it, I guess, more realistic. If you do something bad, you're going to be punished for it. It's the whole, again, crime and punishment. But yeah, I mean, it's part one in that kind of update, which I believe we're getting the karma system or something like it later this year, which I think the two of them will complement each other. But so far, from what I've seen in it, like, for example, I did a little bit of RES hunting a couple days ago, and I accidentally shot somebody before scanning. And in the previous version of the crime system, you immediately get punished. You've got 10 minutes to get rid of it. The system now, it fines you. And for just a base fine, you can go to any system or any station in system and pay that fine off. Now, you might be limited with what you can do in that station because they don't like you that much. But if you kill somebody and you get a bounty, at that point, then it becomes a little quite different than the previous system. You actually have to find like an interstellar factor contact and fly there and pay the bounty itself off. So it's, again, I haven't gotten to the point where I've started like murdering people in Sidewinder, so I don't know exactly what that level of stuff is, but at least for my type of gameplay, it feels right to me.
As somebody who's never taken part in the crime aspect of Elite, from a distance looking at it, reading the changes and watching what people have been saying, it looks like it makes sense to me that if you were to murder somebody, like, what you could do in the public would be minimal, right? Like, from a lore standpoint.
Absolutely. And one of the biggest worries with the system when they initially proposed it was the bounty for killing a new player was going to be incredibly low. Fortunately, everybody shouted quite loudly that that was going to be terrible. And fortunately, FDev have changed that. Now, if you kill a new player, you get a substantial bounty. Bounties also no longer have time limits on them. They last forever, which again makes sense. You don't get forgiven for killing someone in a week, you know? Most of the stuff is really good. The biggest problem with the crime update as it stands isn't that it fails to punish criminals, it's actually that it's all stick and no carrot. The criminal style of gameplay hasn't really been helped with this update, and that's a shame, and I think it is an opportunity missed, and one that I hope that later in the Beyond series they redress, because playing as a criminal is a valid style of play in Elite Dangerous. You know, the clue's in the name, Elite Dangerous, not Elite chill out and have a nice time. There are areas of the galaxy that should be very dangerous to go to, and it should be down to players to decide where those places are going to be and why they're dangerous, bluntly put. And at the moment, the crime system, yes, it does very well with punishing those players, but it doesn't give them much in the way of stuff to actually do.
Now, one thing I have noticed, though, is that the illegal missions, the ones that would get you those fines and bounties and notoriety and everything with this new system, they do seem to pay quite a bit more.
That's at least a benefit. But I guess a lot of this goes back to a problem that's intrinsic in Elite Dangerous combat log. With criminal activity, a lot of the problem is that an awful lot of people in this game cheat. If they get attacked by another player, they will just Alt F4 the program or yoink out their internet lead or whatever.
I don't know if you noticed, but now if you try to Alt F4, the game actually pops up, do you want to exit? You can't immediately exit. You actually have to click yes, and if you're being attacked, there is a timer.
That's great, but we know full well that won't stop it. I know for a fact there are people out there that run macros that mean that the moment their ship takes any damage, it kills the process of Elite Dangerous. There is no one-size-fits-all solution that doesn't impact on players who just have dodgy internet.
I think that's a fantastic point. This is the first iteration we're seeing of this, so we're going to be seeing changes like this happening for a while. It's definitely a work in progress.
It feels like half an update that gives them the necessary framework to put in things like the karma system we know that they're trying to develop.
A lot of things that I've kind of seen with like the system itself is that it seems like it's quite adaptable. So if they able to take a look at it, they can, without requiring a huge update, make, say, a server-side change that will trickle down and change how things work. I think they have a bunch of stuff ready. It's just how the things are applied. So I think they've kind of set the thing up for that future use for balancing too.
One thing that they mentioned in some of the live previews, they want to put it into the wild to really see the real world application of how they interact, you know, especially one thing big with that was the advanced tactical response. They just want to see how it actually affects people and how people react to it, because this is one thing that we had been talking about before. Now we're going to start to see not only combat logging with PvP, but also now PvE, because as you start to go after and you pirate or you start aggressing clean targets, the ATR is going to come in and people might not want to deal with that.
That already happens, but it's going to get a lot worse, yes.
Right, yeah.
It is a thing that exists because of the network code. Until that's fixed, it's difficult to give carrots to the crime side of things. And so I think that's why this is mostly a stick update as far as crime is concerned. I don't personally like that it's applied to ships.
Why not?
I think that's really, really silly. It means that if someone wants to go out and murder a load of players and cause a load of havoc, they have to fly to an anarchy system and change back into their normal ship. And they have a criminal ship.
Yeah, they can easily pick up a new eagle and just go and murder spree.
Yeah.
They'll still be able to kill those, seals or whatnot else with the small ship. Not even engineered.
And that gets avoided if the bounty is account-wide and the damage is account-wide rather than applied to a specific ship.
There needs to be both, I'd say.
You're saying like different degrees of both? So if you commit enough murder, eventually it like goes beyond just your ship and onto the entire player account?
Yeah, I'd say so.
No, because then you're just going to have people using a ship until just before the limit and then ditching that ship and using a different one.
See, I think this is where the karma system, when it starts being brought in, that's where that's going to pick up the slack at that point. Because if you keep killing people, it's going to start sliding from this is a trend over time, and yeah, then it starts applying to the person rather than a hot ship.
With the crime update, it does feel like framework to build stuff later. What they've done, for the most part, is really good. The new respawning system, the new prison ships. Oh, no, I like it. Apart from there has been one really nasty bug, which is the if you die in Colonia, you respawn in the bubble. Yeah.
There's even worse than that. Today, I was filming for a review and whatnot else. I was in my chieftain. I did my usual silly stuff and whatnot else and decided, well, okay, I'm gonna boost suddenly, and I didn't notice my hull integrity and exploded. Instead of returning to the base, which I was doing it in, I spawned in the next base somewhere in the system instead of that particular one. So that's annoying.
So the issue that you're running in is it's annoying when you're trying to have fun and mess around with shenanigans, essentially.
Not only that, it's usually you expect, okay, I docked in the last place, sure, fine. Once exploding, I'm gonna return to that place as expected. Now, you're gonna be thrown into unknown place, especially if you are in a new system and so on and so forth. It's gonna be completely unknown where you're gonna be sent to. That's sort of an issue.
Yeah, I had something like that happen to me during the beta where I had been fighting Thargoids and my ship was dissolving and I came in to land at a port and I'm literally 10 feet above the pad when the ship exploded. I was inside the station. It just hadn't locked down yet and it put me in a different station in the same system. And it was just like, what? What's going on here?
From a casual person's perspective, yes, them dirty casuals.
I'm one of them, don't worry.
The crime and punishment to me, already in beta, was rather clear. It will be fucking annoying as hell. So now, let's say you're even a trader. You want to do your cargo missions, or rather quickly, as you usually would, right? So you start going towards the system where you need to, you arrive, go near the starport and whatnot else, and as you start entering with your huge-ass ship, you bump into a poor little hauler, and you get a fine. And because of this fine, because of those 50 credit fines, you're not gonna be able to use the starport. Okay, fine. It doesn't take long to, clear your fines, but the fact that you have to do that in the first place, you have to spend extra time, and you have to, be bothered to do that in the first place, gets on your nerves really quickly. That's the thing. Eventually, I just really got pissed off by the fact that you constantly have to do these little things that are really annoying. It's like having normal general store prevent you from purchasing something, from their selection because you didn't pay your parking ticket. That's stupid. I already suggested devs, put a threshold, a 10,000 credit fine, and there you go. I'm fine with that. 50, 100, maybe 1,000 credit fine. Fine, okay. Go ahead and still browse our selection and use our services. It's fine. You're probably gonna pay it up sooner or later. It's not such a big issue. But bumping into something, let's be honest, especially with Beluga, oh, it's gonna be annoying.
I don't disagree with the threshold comment, but I think what they're trying to do with that, Elite Dangerous is a simulator, right? So you have to follow all of the rules of the world. And I think what they're trying to do is they want a world where you look at your mini-map and make sure that there isn't a ship coming out of the station when you go to fly in. And that's not really saying, okay, I'm a casual player. It's just a matter of, do you use all of the tools that the game provides to not crash into something when you're flying out of a station? Because the game gives you that information.
Yeah, considering that most of us tend to just go even slightly above 100 meters a second, again, that bumping thing will happen. The bottom line is, it's just gonna be annoyance. It's not that, no one can pay 50 credits or 100 credits or 1,000 credits.
I don't disagree with the annoyance part. Yes, it's annoying.
Why, devs? Why?
You're right, that's really stupid. Which is why it probably will get dealt with.
Yeah, right.
We just have to make enough noise about it and go, oi, this is silly, and it gets dealt with. It's one of the advantages of Elite.
If they didn't deal with it in beta, then I'm sorry, I'm not holding any breath here.
How many of us were shouting about it? We had bigger things to shout about. We had bigger problems to worry about, and those big problems were dealt with. And there was only a limited time frame, and there was only so many issues that could be shouted about. I know I didn't worry about that. I had far bigger concerns, and used my voice to take to Frontier the concerns of quite a lot of people. That worked out pretty well. The first night of the beta, I was so worried about 3.0, because the initial beta was in a sorry state. A lot of the updates were so poorly balanced, they were not going to work. By the end of the beta, and by the time it went live, 99% of my issues were solved.
It's really nice to see a real beta for once.
Oh yeah, it was. It was spectacular, especially with the engineering, which we'll come to more in depth later. But to see them going, alright, that module isn't good enough yet, let's deal with that now. Let's deal with that now. Let's deal with that now. It was something else to behold. It really was.
Alright, so the new mission system. Myself, personally, I'm liking the new mission reward. That's really nice. You can pick and choose what you want. You have all the new filters, so you can choose legal, illegal, trade, data, all that kind of stuff. You have all those new filters on there. You even have filters that if you're looking for a specific reward, you can choose that reward, and only those ones that have that will pop up. That, and then you got the wing mission stuff that they added. I have yet to actually try those, but they look really, really good. Very profitable, and especially if you're doing it in a full wing, you can knock them out pretty quick. I'm enjoying them quite a bit.
The multiple choice reward, love it. The wing mission idea, love it, except for the fact that you can only pick one, but whatever. Maybe in time. But the rewards themselves, just 1,000 units and only 2 million. No, thank you.
You can really tell the direction that they're heading with it.
Basically more co-op gameplay, which is wonderful.
And what's neat too is you just wing up with literally anybody around you. You could just send out a local message, have somebody grab a few people and jump in and take care of it.
If you're really bored, you can do the entire wing mission yourself and do that too.
There's new USSs that are going to come up. I haven't seen any just yet, but that should be pretty interesting too.
I mean, it's no secret that wing missions are something that the game's needed for a long time. At the end of the day, it's a multiplayer game, so people want to be able to purchase the game with a group of friends and then go play with a group of friends. Like, you could always go do that, but now you can officially do it within the game and actually get rewards from that, which is just really cool.
They've been terrified about doing it because of community backlash.
Explain.
Elite has always traditionally been a single-player game. Elite Dangerous is the only entry into the series that has any kind of multiplayer. There are a lot of people who play this game as a single-player game. Anytime there is an activity in-game, even if a rumour that an activity is only completable by multiple people, they kick up a huge stink. And that has caused problems.
Immersion timers!
Yes.
I didn't say anything.
Frontier know full well that there are a certain element of their community that will actively resist any content aimed at multiplayer, Squadrons included. Do you know how many people I have seen complaining, and this is a direct quote, wasting development time on stupid multiplayer features?
Yeah, I personally haven't seen that. I've heard a couple of comments here and there, waste of time sort of thing, but really? That many, and usually it's about some little thing.
I will go on record now. As we get closer to Squadrons coming out, you watch it come out the woodwork, Yamiks. And to be honest with you, one of the nice things about the Beyond series is that Frontier do seem to have gone, do you know what? We can't keep listening to you and keep pandering to you. There is a bigger audience who play this as a multiplayer game, and this is the first time, other than Multicrew, that they have introduced features that are really designed for the multiplayer stuff since 1.2, which was when they introduced Wings.
I think that complaining about that's just ridiculous.
We want to talk about waste of time. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge on the power play there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge on the rank system. Tech broker. Things like those. We don't need arbitrary unlock systems.
I disagree. Gotta give people stuff to work towards.
It's nice to have an achievement.
Bashing your head against the wall or being able to chug down a whole bottle of bleach.
Play Rocket League, then get back to me.
Go play Star Trek Online and try upgrading a ship in that, and then get
Just
back to
because
me.
stupid game.
That's not stupid games.
It's a stupid feature in a game. There we go.
Do you know how many people play Star Trek Online? Do you know how long that game's been going?
Nope.
It's in, what, year 9 now? And it's still ridiculously
I
popular.
wouldn't say it's ridiculously popular, but it's definitely still staying online.
For a 9-year-old MMO, it's a ridiculously popular game.
Touche. It's also Star Trek.
Wink, winky, EVE Online.
Yeah, let's not open up this topic as well. Let's get to our topics, which the next one is ships.
Right, so first big change is, of course, Chieftain. The ship itself is basically a carbon copy of a Federal Assault ship. Stronger hard points, but lower maneuverability. Doesn't require a stupid-ass rank. Overall, a decent ship with its, issues, but overall, competitive ship for Assault ship and Clipper. And we have Type 7 getting liposuction, so that reduces its weight, making jump range more appropriate, and then making the ship more useful for a proper trader thing. If you want to trade, definitely Type 7 will be your go-to ship. Right, after that we have Type 9. Type 9 is getting basically one extra Class 8 optional compartment, making its total cargo capacity 4 tons less than Cutter, making it again more competitive in the trading aspect. And aside from that, we got Type 10. It will have a better power distributor, so now, even though you still have most amount of hard points for a ship, you will at least be able to shoot them slightly longer. Finally, the keelback getting another pilot seat for a real human butt cheeks. Essentially, you can fly, finally, keelback with a friend and use it with a friend instead of a crewmate. Aside from camera changes here and there, fixing them, yeah, I'd say that's about it on the ship side.
There's one additional thing. They added, quote-unquote, new alien attack craft.
The cannon fodder.
Another skimmer version.
They're not skimmers.
They are based on skimmer AI, probably.
No, not those Yamiks.
The scouts.
The Thargoid scouts.
Oh, scouts, right, yeah.
Yeah, the neat thing about those is that you specifically don't need AX weapons. You can literally just go out and take them out if you wanted to. And if you want to try mining lasers, go for it.
Like I said, cannon fodder. I got a message from a friend of mine the other day saying, we're hunting Thargoid scouts and Sidewinders.
It does open up Thargoid fighting to a lot more of the audience, which I think is the primary reason they've done it. It doesn't actually make sense from a lore perspective. Why all of a sudden are these ships vulnerable?
That we know of yet.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. It doesn't particularly make sense, but it does from a gameplay perspective. Fun should trump everything else at all times, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I also want to say the Chieftain is being talked about by the PvP community as a relevant contender.
It's a competitive ship.
Yeah.
It has almost the same stats stats as a Federal Assault ship, aside from Chieftain being slower on the yaw turn rate and it having more firepower. Oh, and also it has more shields. Everything else, including armor, which can be maxed out at the same level as Federal Assault ship. Difference is, of course, in the internal compartment sizes.
And maneuverability.
Again, as I said, only maneuverability difference between Federal Assault ship and Chieftain is in yaw turn rate.
Are you sure?
Yes.
I've never flown a Federal Assault ship, so I can't comment, but...
You don't need to. Go on ED Shipyard, compare stats there if you're not sure.
It's one of those things that it doesn't have a hard number stat for.
Unfortunately, yeah.
It's like saying a cutter can go fast and it can turn okay, but it can't actually change direction that well. The Chieftain has that ability to change its direction much quicker than the Federal dropship variants. When you tell it to turn and you need to make like a 90-degree turn, it will do it immediately. It doesn't slide near as much as the Federal ships do.
I just love the way it looks. It is just so cool, especially in black with some of the paint kits.
Yeah.
It's also a ship that's clearly designed for atmospheric flight.
They kind of did drop a hint at that during the live stream leading up to the release. They did mention that a lot of the ships, they have been designing them for atmospherics in the future.
There's no secret as to what their development path was. They released it during the Kickstarter.
Heck, even when the Type 10 came out, the flight controls are separated as if they're there, and they've probably already been animated for future use. So they're getting stuff ready with ships, but who knows when that's going to come out.
I'm just looking forward to the first crazy person to take it into deep space and use it for exploration. There's like a contingent in the exploration community for just taking dumb ships out because you can.
For me, that's the only problem with the Chieftain, is I need one more internal slot. I need 6. I'm not counting the military slots, but I need shield, fuel scoop, SRV bay, cargo rack, and then the 2 sensors. And because it only has the 5, it's like, oh, I wish I could use this thing because it's a fun ship to fly, but it's pretty much useless for me doing my science stuff. Yeah, even if it had like a size 1 slot, so I could just throw that advanced discovery scanner into it and still have all the other ones open, I would pretty much be using it around the Pleiades for all my science stuff with Thargoids.
But only the Anaconda is allowed to be the ship that you can do everything in. Kappa.
Feels bad, man.
The bottom line is Chieftain is made for combat.
Oh, very much.
One more slot would have made it, I think, a much better all-arounder.
I might make it a local science ship where it has everything except for maybe the detailed surface scanner. For the true science stuff, I want to be able to get all that data on all the planets and everything, and that, I don't want to run around without shields, for example. You know me, I get distracted. Ooh, look, a canyon, and I go down and I usually scrape the wingtips on the ground, so I pretty much need 6 slots.
I know that there was a contingent of arguments around related to the slot count on the Chieftain, basically saying that it's good that there are ships for specific roles, because if everything just kind of did everything, then there'd be no variety. It's a cool ship, but it has its job, and that's what it was designed for.
Trade data and galaxy map changes. Myself, I haven't used the new trade data stuff as much as I possibly could. The thing that for me, that I believe is going to help the game greatly is because, especially for console users, that trade data, having it in the game is going to be invaluable. I am liking the new galaxy map filters. I believe there's still a couple bugs and stuff being worked on due to the way that, say, the tech brokers and everything shows up. I know the last couple of days, every time you would log in, it would erase all your trade data. So there's still a couple things that they're ironing out, but you can set the filters so you can see both NPC trade routes and commander trade routes. So you can actually see where the kind of hot spots are as well. Filters like Thargoid and Guardian, being able to actually see where they are. It's one of those things like you can now go around the Pleiades and kind of see the general sphere around Merope that the Thargoids are. You can see all those little green dots everywhere. People have gone out looking around different nebulas and found random blue dots where Guardian sites are. So explorers are out going and checking those things out, and especially with all the new Guardian content, yeah, just having those filters to narrow down where things are definitely does help.
It's an improvement just because it's more information in the game available to the player without having to use external resources. I haven't been able to use the trade data because I'm not in the bubble, but that is stuff that I will be trying to use versus external tools when I do get back to the bubble eventually.
It's a nice little feature.
Yep.
It's a small one, but it's a nice one.
Let's move on to engineers.
So they've totally rebalanced engineering. They have made it so that like there are hard limits on how good each module can get. So where before the system allowed through certain things modules to be created that were so much better than what everybody else had, now there's a hard limit that everyone is going to be able to relatively easily reach. It will require a certain amount of effort, but in particular with the new mission reward thing that we talked about earlier, and the fact that alongside the rebalance, they've put in a material trader that let you exchange certain types of materials for other materials, it means the amount of gameplay that you'd have to do that you wouldn't normally choose to do, no matter what your style of gameplay, is reduced significantly. And one of the big things is it's bringing balance back to PvP. I haven't seen anyone as excited about PvP as I am right now, literally since before Engineers. The other thing is that people are starting to get more imaginative with engineering. I'm seeing some people building some really clever, funny things that before you just wouldn't have bothered with, but now you can.
Like what?
Lightweighting sidewinders. Yeah, grade 5 lightweight on everything to see how far you can make a sidewinder jump. Now, to put this into perspective, before, to get a top roll on grade 5 dirty drives, which is the engine type that most people use when they're engineering, we know a person that did 2,500 rolls to get to the point that he was at. With the new system, it's likely he'd have to do at most 25 grade 5 rolls. At most. More realistically, it's about 10 to get the same result.
I think the 25 is if you're really low reputation with that engineer. If you do like the full grade 1 through grade 5 initially, it takes more rolls when you have a lower reputation. But if you keep engineering things at that engineer over time, your reputation goes up and it requires less and less to fill up that grade. For example.
This isn't the first UE that we're going to see with the engineers as well. I've had a couple developers pop into chat and mention that they're going to be working on just making it look even better than it already is. And I think a big part of this was to welcome new players into engineering as well, because it makes perfect sense for one of us, you know, who's been playing the game for a little while to go, oh, okay, of course I'm going to, you know, bump up my FSD and my thrusters and go through power plant and all that. But for a newer player, it might just look complicated and they're just happy with, you know, what they have. But this is really going to make things a lot easier, more straightforward for them to just delve right into it, and especially with the materials broker. It's just going to make it a heck of a lot easier for people to get involved with.
New player reporting here, and yeah, that was too complicated. Can confirm. When I went into the original engineering system, I just took one look at that menu. I was like, yeah, nope, I'm out.
And to be honest, the previous system was far too much of a slot machine.
Oh yeah, even down to the whole slot machine animations. Oh yeah, baby.
What we have now is so improved in so many ways. It really is one of those moments where you look at it and you're like, yeah, alright, fair play, FDev. Like, you screwed up in the first implementation of it. It wasn't perfect. Good idea, didn't work out quite right. But fair play to you. This reworking of it is everything we could have asked for.
And the UI is understandable.
For me, the biggest thing is balance. And also things like, as a streamer who is fairly high profile, and you know, we've literally had people who are in the PvP community come on my stream for interviews and things, and they openly admit, I'm a high priority target. If I'm anywhere close to them in the galaxy, they're coming to get me. And before this patch, I didn't have the time to spend on engineering to ensure that my ship could survive an encounter with them. Now I do. I know I'm a minority case here, but personally for me, the biggest thing about it is, once my ship's re-engineered, I can go and play around in open. At that point, again, I will feel like if I die, it is my fault, rather than at the moment when it is possible to kill people without them being able to do anything about it. Actually, you can poddle around in open, and they attack you, great. Hyperspace. Oh look, bye.
I don't know.
I know what open is like. Most of these people are on my friends list, so if I jump into open and you watch a circle of people surrounding me, and this circle just gets smaller and smaller as they just come for me.
It's just love taps. Come on.
Love taps that cost me 20 million in rebalance.
Yeah, I know.
Well, fly eagle then.
That's not the point anyway. It allows me to be able to be like, you know what, if they're going to come for me, great. They're not going to get my shields down before I high wake out. I can choose to try and fight. And if I'm losing and I don't disengage on time and die, that's my fault. Open is where the most fun can be had in Elite Dangerous.
Arguably.
There are potential opportunities for interactions with random people, and you don't know how they're going to go. In the early days of this player group, I was in an asteroid field, and I was bounty hunting. This bastard kept stealing my kills.
I remember, yeah.
And I was going to shoot him, and someone in the stream just went, just talk to him. And so I pinged him with voice comms, and 10 minutes later he was on our server. And then he joined the player group and became quite a big part of the player group. That's the sort of thing that can only happen in open.
I think we should move on to the next topic.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun topic. So the technology broker, of course, was added recently, which allows players to unlock new weapons and modules in return for specific materials. And they're not very easy to gather for those materials. This does have an asterisk that it's Horizons only, but this is going to be an awesome first rung of the ladder for many other types of modules and weapons to come in the future to help us out in different situations, and also could be very specialized for very specific things, which is very cool. We've seen some things such as the medium shock cannon, the remote flechette launcher, enzyme missiles, the hull reinforcements, the meta alloy hull reinforcements as well, and a recon lipid controller. One of the biggest things that a lot of people are excited about are the corrosion resistant cargo racks, which in a CG back in the day only got up to size 4, which is basically a big handicap for anybody. And I know Malic has a lot of things to say, and he's very excited about this. If you are trying to do any type of science with Thargoids and you need more than that, it's ridiculous. You have to either get a different ship or basically pick and choose what you want as your optional internals. But a lot of really cool weapons. We saw some of them in the Commander Chronicles video that just recently came out, so it created a lot of hype around it. Like I said, you do need a decent amount of, either Thargoid or Guardian materials to actually make this for the tech broker. He gives you the item. Also seen things like the Guardian power plant, which is a bump up for power plants as well, but it's going to be super exciting.
Hang on, I'm going to just jump in there. The Guardian power plant is not a bump up for power plants. Have you seen, people have got it up to 65 megawatts.
You can actually engineer it?
Yeah, you can engineer them.
A couple things with that, though, is they don't get rid of heat as well. Every time I see someone, I've got this Guardian power plant, my mind keeps on returning to that old Stargate episode where they had the 2 death gliders, and it turned on them because it was alien technology on board their ship.
The other thing about them, quite interestingly, is they're cheaper.
Much. If you have an 8A Guardian power plant and an 8A human power plant, the 8A is 156 million, the Guardian one is less than 1 million credits.
I've seen people knock 10, 15 million off their rebuy,
Yep, right.
which makes those ships more usable.
I've heard actually people say that Thargoid EMP doesn't shut you down if you have that. Is this true?
I have no idea with that. That is something I'll have to confirm later.
Yeah, at this point, let's just say it doesn't, but in case it does, it'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be quite nice.
I gotta kind of put Malic on the spot. Have you done anything for the corrosion-resistant cargo rack just yet, or are you working towards it?
To be honest, that is what I've been doing for the past few days, is I've
Awesome.
been gathering all the necessary materials. I've actually moved my Anaconda to Merope in preparation to grab all the meta alloys, because you have to bring everything to there all at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Several of the things are mission-only rewards, so I gotta do missions, haul those in the ship, and then I have to go get the meta alloys, and then take the entire collection of, I think it's 68 items total to the tech broker to unlock it.
Yeah, just to give an example, for the corrosion-resistant cargo rack, you need 30 iron, 18 chemical manipulators, 30 radiation baffles, 12 neofabric installations, and 28 meta alloys. So you need 5 items and a lot of each.
Oh boy.
Here's one thing, though, I'm kind of wish they did. Like, for example, with engineers, everyone knows the whole Marco Quint grind. You need 25 modular terminals. It didn't matter if you dropped them off one modular terminal over 6 months, once a week or whatever. I kind of wish that it allowed you to do that, because this
is all at once.
Yeah, it does limit it to the larger ships. I don't like flying the large ships. I don't have fun flying the big ships. I like small maneuverable ships. So I'm having to force myself to fly an Anaconda to do that. And I don't like doing that kind of thing. I kind of wish they changed that a little bit. But maybe the ship progression is also one of those things that's kind of like the limiting factor on purpose. Who knows? Again, it might be something they change in the future too.
So, since nobody else speaks up...
I can complain about everything if necessary. Just for the completeness sake, quickly going over a couple of things. So, Enzyme Missile is gonna be a piece of shit. I tried it in beta and it was crap. Hull Reinforcement is an unknown. Cargo Rex is nice. Guardian Plasma Charger I recently got and it was lackluster against humanoid ships. Also, the question, why do you need to unlock fixed and gimbaled or turreted separately? Because I guess fuck you, more grind, yay.
Content.
Guardian Ghost thingamajig I'm looking forward to, but basically just another railgun. But apparently at least you can use those against Dargoids, apparently.
I've seen a couple videos now where people have taken out Cyclopses with couriers.
That's super, I love it. I love the idea.
It's a big balancing thing against the Thargoids. Yes, they might be weak against humans, but I don't think that's what they're designed to do.
So, let's see what you can do with them when you engineer them. Yeah.
One thing I definitely want to say, aside from the fact that the whole tech broker feature is basically a glorified rank system where you need to unlock something so you can buy it later, weapon models themselves, I've seen wonderful work on the Frontier side. I really like the look on many of them. The fact that they put in effort to make a separate model, unlike the power play modules, is a good one.
I think that's just where FDev are a bit bigger now. And they can do that, whereas back when they released the modules, it was a smaller company, it was pre-Planet Coaster, Yeah, they're able to apply more polish now.
If they can flex the art team, then yeah that's wonderful.
But moving on, Frontier Developments have recently partnered with a wonderful company called HCS Voice Packs. They make voice packs that mean that if you have voice stack, your ship can talk back to you. They're doing several things. First of all, there's the new ship voices that have appeared. First of all, we got Victor in-game, and you can also now buy Celeste in store. But alongside that, the text-to-speech voice has come from HCS. And the text-to-speech voice is what has allowed them to have Galnet audio. And bluntly put, it's a really good text-to-speech voice.
It is freakishly good. That, and just from an immersion perspective, there's just something kind of amazing about turning on the game, flying around in space, and listening to the morning news.
It finally makes me give a fuck about some kind of random faction, and that's the weirdest thing.
You now have your own built-in soap opera. It's great.
Basically, yeah. Personally, I find Galnet Audio just a wonderful addition that finally, opens up a little bit of that ongoing narrative to a person that perhaps doesn't even really care to look it up, like myself.
It's not that I didn't care before. I think for me it was just I'd forget.
One big thing that's starting to really gather a lot of traction is role-playing. So some people only go by what their commanders in-game are seeing or doing. They've seen a couple things, but actually, being more immersed in it, taking out the time to actually read the news, but actually being able to listen to it, their commanders, quote-unquote, have more knowledge about what's happening around them. And I think they'll be able to push these out a little bit quicker as well, hopefully.
For me personally, that's just how I absorb media. I listen to the news on my podcast app. I don't read a newspaper. To me, it just makes a lot of sense to have it.
The only change to the Galnet audio that I wish they would kind of make is maybe have it where if you enter a system that has something interesting in local news, it then queues up and warns you that there's something going on possibly in that system, and then you could hit, play and listen to whatever special thing's going on there. To me, that would be a little bit of local flavor for each kind of system if there's special stuff going on there. It's just a text-to-speech. Even if it's one of those procedural generated stories in the local news, it has the capability of reading it out. If it's something more in-depth that Frontier does, that, how they sometimes have the really detailed stories in some local news, which hint, might want to watch local news. They tend to hide things there, but it would be nice if it would read that stuff out to you.
I think you nailed it with the hiding stuff's comment.
Like, for example, there's a couple things, like Graham knows this, and when Lauders went to Frontier headquarters a couple years ago, they added a couple local news stories into 3 stations in our player group space. It's a little story. It gives you a planet and some coordinates to go down to, and there's like crash ships and stuff down there that you can see. There's a local news story in Maya in Obsidian Orbital that if you follow the trail, and I believe it's like 4 breadcrumbs thick, it would have led to what I believe most people call Thargoid base number 6. I almost have a feeling there's a lot of people that they never look at local news, so they're totally missing that. And it would be a nice little feature, like if there was something like that, Galnet Audio goes, deet, lets you know something's there, and then if need be, investigate it more. Go land at the station, upload it to your Galnet Audio, and then listen to it.
I'm still shocked that, totally off topic, that you don't read news.
Me?
Yeah.
No, never.
What you're doing on the toilet.
I get out of the bathroom. I'm quick.
Maybe that's why I don't have time to stream, because I'm sitting on the toilet and reading the newspaper all the time. But anyways, moving on.
Yeah, we've got the installation and megaship interactions. When I first saw the preview for what it looked like, I actually audibly yelled. It was so cool. So basically what happens now are there's some megaships that are out there, and you're able to scan them. The new animation for scanning them is so cool. And what you'll get are your data link scanner is upgraded now, and it allows you to scan them and reveal targets that the player can interact with, and you can actually see it on your radar much more easily. You can scan some revealed ones to uncover sub-targets, and they can be interacted with in different ways. So for instance, you can find a cargo bay, so you can hack the cargo bay. It'll open up, and then all of the contents will come out. We actually did this in the beta. We got a wing of 4 of us together. 2 of us were basically the scouts, you know, defensemen. 1 was a hacker, and 1 was the cargo ship. And so what we did was the hacker had all of the limpets and devices needed to hack other parts, including the cargo bay. They go in, all of the stuff would come out. The cargo guy would grab them. ATRs and system defense would kick in right away. Defense guys would go in and take out the batteries and stuff. So you can damage generators to disable the turrets as well. So we had them eyed up, ready to go as soon as we hit the countdown timer. You can actually activate data terminals and comm rays on them as well now. And the hatchbreaker limpets are the ones that you can use for cargo bays. And because the megaships vary in type and size, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it and increase possibly notoriety with that as well. It's very cool. It was a lot of fun.
I believe as well they running like silent running cool also helps you hide.
Yeah.
They have to make like visual contact.
There's a lot of strategy that can go into, you know, kind of raiding them. Hopefully you're not in low orbit, otherwise all the commodities will start to float down towards the planet. Yeah.
Hope you have collector limpets at that point.
But yeah, I guess we move on.
The surface material system. So essentially, a little while ago, we had a problem where they changed the material system for the surface of the planets, thus causing them to all just kind of be beiged over. With 3.0, they have changed the system, so now materials on the planets are spread out and essentially causing better color variation, which makes resource collection a little weird, but at the same time adds greatly needed variety in the looks of smaller planets that you can land on. As well as on the surface a little bit, I find that the textures are a little crisper, I think. It doesn't look quite as blotchy when you're down and on the planets.
With the color variation though, one thing I've had one of the developers in my chat before, like let's say for example, if you have a lot of red, which would, you know, rust, iron oxide, you have a higher chance of getting iron. So you can actually use the colors and stuff to actually help locate a greater chance of finding the materials you want.
Yeah.
I know, like, I've got a couple planets that me and my canyon runs, I know the planet inside and out. I know specific canyon areas that I like to run, and this has totally changed for the better. It looks amazing now, just the color variation. Like, there's this one area that has 7 barnacles in the crater. Most of the thing is kind of like this red color, but this one side, it's almost pure black color. And the funny thing is that if I keep following that trail up, it actually leads to a volcanic area. And there's lava flows and everything like that. So you can see visually where volcanic activity is.
That's fascinating.
You could never do that in the previous version of the game. And I've gone to old places that I've been to before, and now it's like, oh, there's a color thing over there. I go over there and it's like, oh, there's a barnacle over here. It's kind of weird now seeing a color variation and things kind of like hidden there.
I love the change. Planets are beautiful, variety is amazing, and now I find myself landing on planets just because I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, which is a very nice change. I think as Yamiks said in his video, yay, variety!
Did I?
Yeah.
That sounds so positive.
I know, right?
Probably it was done sarcastically.
Yeah.
At first I was like, more colors, okay, fine. It's basically more textures here and there, and I start to like it quite a bit more. That's an interesting little thing that I didn't expect.
Now, a little side thing. Had one of the developers come in to my chat a couple days ago. Everyone knows about the shadow bug where you get the big black boxes kind of on the ground. They have finally figured out what was causing that. It's, again, not in the game now, but they are going to be pushing an update sometime in the next few weeks that will include that fix.
It's so nice. To be able to tell stuff about the planet simply by the coloration of it is utterly astonishing. It just is something that's added a much more realistic feeling to the game.
Great. So I guess we're moving on, and ironically, Yamiks has quality of life features. So please.
Why ironically, really?
I have no idea.
Fine. Module storage space is finally increased, and still it's not enough. Because of the new engineer change especially, we have a issue with the fact that a lot of people will probably still stick around and, use those old modules and store them, or want to store them. But even if that wasn't the case, we have the new Guardian tech, we have the new modules from Tech Broker, the new engineered stuff, experimental stuff, and so on and so forth. So module storage is so limited in comparison to ship storage. Doesn't particularly make sense, at least not to me. Of course, material storage itself. Material and data storage has been changed as well.
New synthesis was added for new stuff.
Yeah, you can synthesize AX weapons.
And the technology broker stuff, yeah. One huge thing I'm stoked for, though I hate mining and Yamiks loves mining, the filters for the commodities. You can finally filter them and say, I don't ever want to see iron again in my entire life. Left panel, ignore, never have to look at it again.
And the fact that it removes it from the radar when it does that too is awesome.
Yep, you don't get confused about it.
Oh, it does remove from the radar now.
Yes.
What's great too is when you have one of those targeted, if you look at the bottom left, at a glance you can see not only the quality of what it is, like rare, common, but you can also see how much is in your own inventory and how close you are to the max. So it'd be like 4 out of 100.
And if it's a pinned item for a blueprint that you're trying to find too.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
It'll put a little flag by any items that need that. And if you lock onto it, even right hand menu or when you just target it, it will have a little flag next to it.
One thing that I noticed in text, but haven't really, actually tested it, is that there's apparently increased maneuverability when boosting based on your engine pips. That's something I kind of want to test.
From what I've seen with it, what it seems to do is when you boost, you kind of get that extra bonus of being able to turn sharply for a few seconds. That used to be, you had that awesome maneuverability and then it just suddenly stopped. It was like a sharp cliff drop off and it just stopped. Now it kind of tapers off. That's one thing that I've noticed more with it. That and when you're actually boosting, any ships that normally would slide a lot more, it does do that whole change direction kind of thing a little bit more too. So ships that are a little bit more drifty, such as your cutter, they don't slide as much. I mean, there's still a drifty ship, but change direction a little bit quicker with them.
And here's a little interesting thing. Increase the spawn rate of high-grade emission signal sources in shipping lanes and by planets. So I guess that's a little interesting thing.
That's funny because I missed that one too. They have updated it since, so they might have added to that. I'm gonna have to reread the patch notes again. We do have the new ways of air traffic control or space traffic control to call you out by commander name, ID, or ship name.
Personally, I would include this in the quality of life. The player journal on the back end is a huge update. We're getting a lot of extra stuff. We've been working with a bunch of our in-house developers, I guess you could say, on different tools, among which, we've got compasses and we've got, docking procedures and more importantly, a tracking for when we're doing surveys and that kind of thing. And this is going to add so much that we can do on the back end.
Yeah, like for example, one of the tools that we had used to be a thing that you start the tool would pretty much hit F10 for you every 5 seconds. For those that don't know, when you hit F10, it takes a screenshot, but the player journal, every time a screenshot is taken, it records your latitude and longitude. And we were using that to pretty much give someone a navigation compass to be able to navigate along the ground. With this new update, you don't have to fill up your hard drive with pictures all the time because the player journal now has a live section that updates your latitude and longitude every few seconds automatically.
The user interface has gotten a lot of fixes. I mean, if you're looking through the listing of fixes on here, there's things that we could go on for a while about, but I highlighted a few of them to kind of mention. One thing that I always get questions about while streaming is, oh, what do you have engineered on X, or what are you at for grade on Y? And I'll be like, I'll tell you when I get landed. But now you can actually see the engineering effects on modules in the modules tab, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, this next one is kind of tailored more for newer players. On the rebuy screen, they've changed the text to select all for clarity. There's different things for some PvP updates that have happened, a bunch of stat panel updates. You can also see, if you look on the right panel, all of your engineers, the HoloMe, Galnet, all that stuff is on the right side now. So now everything kind of makes a lot more sense. It's all in one spot. But yeah, there's a lot of UI updates, including some of the stuff for the messages as well and inbox filters. Overall, it's shaping up very nicely. I guess we could include this in the Galaxy map as well, where, like we talked about before, I'll just make a brief mention about it. A lot of new things are much more easily accessible here, including services and civilization and trade routes as well. But all in all, it seems like it's a work in progress that's going to be continually tweaked and changed until it's, even better than it is.
As we get more modules, as we get more stuff in game to equip on our ships, use on our ships, have a high need at redesigned UI and menu and outfitting screen especially. Basically every other thing from Tech Broker and AX weaponry and pretty much everything new will be going in experimentals tab. Go sort through that when you need something specific. That's a big issue, at least for me, when I go through all the things that I want to equip and blah, 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 blah. So we need new UI. We need better UI and perhaps something that's closer to what MMOs have. these days, usually, rather than a drop-down list.
Fully new UI, no. Overhauling the current one? Yeah.
Of course no, but we need the little details so it's easier to actually select things and categorize things, especially categorization is rather important. Do you really want to go through 120 units in a drop-down list for a specific module?
No.
Of course not. So some kind of inventory system revamp needs to be done.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree, but just saying full new UI, it's like, also modern MMO systems are kind of a nightmare on console.
Yeah, that's sort of the issue. But then again, there have been actually decent examples on console as well, so...
Am I going crazy, or did they make everything crisper?
Yes, the new lighting engine makes everything crisper.
I was wondering if that was affecting especially the in-ship UI.
The biggest thing that I've noticed is it seems like the way that the specularity, the shining, the reflection off of materials, it seems to be completely redone.
Gotcha. I think I'm pretty much done. Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to say related to any of the topics we've talked about?
No, I think we've covered it quite well.
Great, so I guess it's on me to take us out. First of all, thank you all for joining our little discussion on Elite Dangerous Beyond Chapter 1. And for our listeners and viewers, thanks a lot for listening and viewing. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions whatsoever, feel free to use our wonderful comment section. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.